Welcome to Great Talking Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment, the official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, and today's video is my spoiler review for FX's new series, Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn, Bessette. Episode 2 spoiler review. If you have not seen this show, please pause this. But before you go, could you hit the thumbs up button, aka the like button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I truly appreciate that. Come back and let me know what you think about episode 2 in the comments below. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now let's get into it. This episode starts off with Carolyn heading into work as she's receiving multiple red roses multiple times as the song My Lovin' by En Vogue released in 1992 from the album Funky Divas. John is just trying to win her over again because of the news press from his ex. And, he's just trying to put an effort in, but she's not paying any attentions to it because she is not going to fall for it in her mind. And she still doesn't know John very well, John F. Kennedy Jr., and she still doesn't trust him quite yet as we get further in this episode. But she understands what's going on, and obviously she doesn't want her job to know that a famous person like John F. Kennedy Jr. is trying to win her love over, because that could change her life entirely, which it does, obviously. So at this point, she's trying to keep it hush-hush under the radar. Now, in this episode, too, we see that John F. Kennedy Jr. is pitching a magazine, which it was called George. And this is about politics meets pop culture, and is in a way where this is kind of like, again, this is where politics becomes very trendy. This is what trendy would be in this time era. But at the time, these guys not really taking him serious because of who he is, where he's from, and his past, and what the media has picked up and displayed in the media news. So they're not very taking him serious, and obviously that frustrates John in a way where he's just trying to prove that he could be his own person. So he wants to build this from ground up and be his own person, not in the shadows of his dad or his family or his mother in any type of way. That's just how he feels. When he's at the in like the changing room of a locker room, and I'm assuming it's like some type of gym or a club where, he might have worked out or did some exercise or just played some golf, whatever the case may be. Him and his cousin are just chatting, and he's just venting out to his cousin that, hey, I just suck. Like, I'm trying to do this, do that. And his cousin's just trying to be honest with him and understand, like, maybe there's stuff that he needs to work on. And all of a sudden, an employee comes and informs John that, hey, your mother has been rushed to the hospital, which his mother is Jacqueline Kennedy. And, she, at this time, the doctor's trying to encourage her to stay and have her family keep her to stay in the hospital, but she refuses. And, this is at the time where this is like a cancer type that she's it's starting to happen, but they don't know yet at this moment. And again, the doctors wanted to keep her overnight, but again, she doesn't want to, so she signs the papers and she went home. And we find out later too, which I thought, this is I noticed this is a pattern in this series so far, that they're just I can tell that they cut a lot of scenes out for whatever reason. And So it's like an unexplained thing. You would think they want to have a scene for certain things when they talked about, but they just mention it in dialogue. And here's an example. We found out in this particular scene that John has passed the bar exam and he wants to be a journalism. And, that's not his mom's not a fan of that idea. But what I mean, this is kind of just implies that they might have had a scene or they may not. But if they did, they probably cut it out. And I thought that's pretty odd. Like, I would love to see a scene where he passed his bar exam. Because in this, we're seeing so far in this episode between Carolyn and John, two different worlds, two different situations, two different families. John is very, was born into a successful, wealthy family, which I'm not saying he's a spoiled person or nothing like that. He doesn't see what Carolyn sees because as she works at Calvin Klein, and her boss is literally Calvin Klein. And I hope I said that name right. She's trying to struggle. Like, if she don't get her a job, she can't pay the bills, and she wants to climb the ladder in this company, in this fashion industry, and for her, she has to sacrifice so much and put in hard work, which I'm not saying John F. Kennedy Jr. did not put any type of hard work in, but the way the show is trying to explain it is people like the who just learn and watch and read the media about celebrities or famous people like John F. Kennedy Jr. They just assume that everything is handed to him on a silver platter, but that's not true. His family had put in a lot of hard work, and his mom has dedicated Jacqueline Kennedy to raising John and John's sister Carolyn, on her own, and that's tough to be a single parent, no matter what financially you are, or who you are, or who you're related to, and that source. So they're trying to explain, like, they both have their struggles, and they both just, at this moment, they feel like they cannot be together. It's like, in this episode, it's being explained and portrayed that there's like the world won't allow it to happen, right? Because again, they both have another love interest, and it's a complicated love interest for each side, and for John, him and at this time is his girlfriend, which is actress Darlene Hannah, and Carolyn is dating a guy, or just as they call it, friends with benefits. His name is Michael Bergen. And what I like about this is there's just, again, I like how they're showing the difference. And again, it's like everything that John does, it's like the world will know about it. Everything that she does, nobody cares. And nobody sees her trying her best. And people, when they see Calvin Klein, they don't think of her. They don't know, and they don't care that she and some other people who have helped make sure this brand is successful. They have helped make sure this brand is like the want, the need, the popular thing to wear or rock, from underwear to t-shirts to, I believe, jeans, pants, whatever. And she's like one, and her and the other employees are the backbone to make it, because this is where nobody sees like how the magic's made. where they're the ones that make the magic. So you got two things, so they can't collide with each other because it would ruin their both reputations in their own ways. Like and one's different than the other, of course, but they both have it would take a negative impact to their personal lives and their careers of what they're trying to be at this moment. So that's what you're seeing. Here's an example, because in this next scene, Carolyn and her coworker and her boss, Calvin Kine, are shocked that the actor Mark Wahlberg scandal of him that was caught on camera saying some harsh words that I don't want to repeat just because it's YouTube, but it's harsh words towards a person or a group of individual who have a different lifestyle, basically. Now, let me just make this clear. I don't know if this is like true or fact about the actor Mark Wahlberg as far as why, but this whole scene was just basically watching, the company say, okay, we're going to have to move on from him because sometimes his demands are a little bit of out of reach for them. And they're not happy about it because it makes their brand look bad. And they don't want somebody like him to represent their brand, their company, because they want everybody, all shape and size, don't matter where you're from or who you like. They want everybody to say, this is a company, this is a brand that welcomes everybody. Everybody is beautiful in their own way. And that's the kind of thing that they're trying to do. Now, in this moment, too, Carolyn's boss does take a dig at her. But she believes that maybe they should create a star. Or use people who are not famous in the way her boss wants to. Which, again, having a famous model is always going to work. When you have a famous person endorse your brand, that's an automatically win. That's an automatically guarantee you're going to make some sales in your brand. From clothing to jewelry to furniture, whatever it is, this is how you do it. And what's interesting too, because this is like the time where this is what we see in social media, but they didn't have the social media yet. This wasn't like, have ads all over your YouTube videos or your social medias like we do now, right? And so, like, doing this was like an important thing. This was a huge investment. Now it's that huge investment has changed in obviously the year 2026. So I thought that was really cool, showing like here's an era where they didn't have like the quote unquote social medias, they didn't have streamers, content creators. So like models were the content creators for this era. Now, I didn't understand why, and I understand they're trying to show Carolyn is life at when she worked for this company, but to bring up Mark Wahlberg thing, I didn't understand it, why they would add that in there if this is just more about the love story between John and Carolyn. I just didn't understand that, and I'm shocked that it aired on TV like that. Like, I thought there'd be some lawsuits if there haven't. But again, they just kind of skimmed over it for sure, but I thought that was a weird thing to add in this scene, was to bring up the Mark Wahlberg scandal. And then I understand that was a big thing because he said some really harsh words. And again, this is an example where they had to make a statement, and it's just a political statement to try to cool things off on their end and just cut ties with him. But I didn't feel like they probably didn't need to add that in this episode. That's just me. But because of that, I get what they're trying to do, because they're trying to show her what inspired her to use model Michael Bergens at this point, because she snuck him in on a day off when they weren't supposed to be there, and they took him to a party, and she tried to pitch this idea. And what's crazy, Calvin Klein didn't even recognize this guy from one of the parties and stuff, and I was just like, oh, here we go, right? But you know, their relationship is pretty odd, and the difference between that relationship with Carolyn and Michael, and then Darlene and John F. Kennedy Jr., is these are relationships that are slowly phasing out, and they're both like just hit this relationship of this. They're both just hitting walls. Like they're going nowhere. Nobody's really growing. The communication is definitely lacking. And this part between the two relationships that are not with Carolyn and John F. Kennedy, it's their previous ex. This is definitely a soap opera moment because of the fact that we're seeing these two relationships, different ones, just hitting a wall. And for Carolyn, she's dating him because he's safe. It wouldn't change or affect her career, versus her falling in love with John F. Kennedy Jr., and that would rock and flip her whole world upside down. And then for him, I think we're seeing is he needs to be the one to end the relationship. I don't think Darlene Hannah wants to be the one to do the breakup, but if he doesn't, what he does is very like immature, just immature basically. And it kind of disrespects her fully, and she knows that. And again, he needs to be the one to do that, but because he makes these mistakes of, I think he was trying to do the right thing, which it's just very hard in these type of relationships, but they foreshadow the idea of this relationship is definitely going to end a lot sooner, is when Darlene is just asking for John to watch her dog until she gets some time, and she went back to California. And as he's walking the dog, Hank, the fan asks for his autograph, and John's trying to sign it, and the dog gets loose, and he runs in the streets and gets hit by a taxi cab. And, this is just foreshadowing, like, yeah, he's not a good boyfriend, and he's not good at communicating, because he doesn't know what he really wants. Who's he trying to be with? And why does he feel like he has to be with her? Is what he's trying to figure out. But, we're seeing more growing pains that he needs to go through. Same thing as Caroline. She's misleading him in a way of like getting his hopes up, because I think in his mind, Michael they're going to be in a serious relationship. And so they both have some growing up to do, and just they got to make a decision in their lives, or it's going to be too late. But obviously, just like any romance show, it's always going to be too late, and the bad thing's going to happen. So Hank, the dog, was hit by a cab, and at least John F. Kennedy Jr. got the dog into the body of the dog into ashes, and got a nice little thing for him to put the ashes in, and has the word Hank on it, and he's delivering to her and to California. But unfortunately, his mom calls, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s mom's called, and He wasn't there, and they left a voice message, which this is crazy. There was no cell phones. Like, that's wild. But it was a thing. There was a time when cell phones weren't the thing, and answering machines were the thing. And she had to be rushed to the hospital. So, you know, and that's how that show ended. But what I like about this show, this episode, I should say, this is one of those episodes in like anything that has to do with romance or just love or young love, teenage love, is there's always an episode in a series where the two people who are meant to be run around in circles and they end up going to circle back to these two. And and sometimes those episodes are not so great. They usually call them the quote unquote filler episodes or whatever. But this one was really put well together. And it was really clear what you can imagine. And so far, they have a good pattern of foreshadowing the thing that's going to happen next. Because this is, just their love story, and obviously we know about the tragic plane crash, but this really indicates like these two are going to end up meeting up again, and then they'll go back to flirting, they'll go back to talking, but they had to do a runaround, they had to do like a side mission, and for the side mission in a romance series or any show that's related to like that is they deal with their own issues without the other character involved, and they try to solve it. And I thought this one was put together very well. Now, John F. Kennedy Jr., I liked about him in this show is they're showing like this guy is just trying to figure out life, and he's trying to be his own person, and his family sometimes are really harsh on him, and the legacy that his family has is a lot of pressure, and he's dating at this moment Darlene Hannah, who is a famous actress. And she's been in a lot of films, a lot of shows, and all eyes on him. And so anything he tries to do, it always goes back to the media, And he's trying to balance it out, but he also just wants to be somebody else in his life, and he has to overcome that challenge, right? And then Caroline. Bessette, she's very successful. Her love life's not great, and the friends with benefit thing is you always at some point is gonna crash out. It's not gonna end well, and so we'll see what they do next. But I think in episode 3, they have to I believe the next thing, I think they're going to milk it more about between Michael Bridgerton and Darlene Hannah, and I think they're just going to milk it a little bit longer because I think there's more things that they're trying to explain and what makes who John F. Kennedy and Carolyn Bessette is today, or not today, but what they become later on in their lives when they officially become a couple, become married, and all that. So, or get to being married, of course. And so I think that's where this is just showing us what they went through and who they become as a person, as a couple. So that's what I get out of that. So other than that, if I had to give this 1 out of 10, I'm definitely going to give it a 6. Really good episode. I love the soap opera to it. I love the late, early, or not late, but the really early 90s to this stuff, and a lot of callbacks. I love the setting. I love the art to this, and I love the just the love in the air thing, and I love the drama to this, and I love watching somebody just work their way up in a successful business. So that was really cool. So that is my spoiler review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official Channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace